Hello. We're gonna see how I can get through this, but we'll hope for the best. Today marks the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And everybody has their own story to tell about it. This is my story, but there's a common theme in the stories, and that is the resilience and the strength of the people that have gone through this. So here we go. Okay. I guess maybe about 2 weeks before the storm, I had just discovered that my fiance at the time had become seriously involved with one of his exes and had been having an affair, I guess, this whole time, like for a couple months, from my understanding. Okay, be that as it may. 2 days before the storm, he left with her. He packed up some stuff and he went with her to Baton Rouge. I was speaking with my mom, and she had decided at the time that we were going to stay, because I always went, evacuation-wise, I always went based off of what my mom said. We're from New Orleans, so she would know best. That's whose hands I left it in. So at the time, she said, okay, now, she says, it's not going to be as bad as we think, that everybody thinks. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to stay. Then the day before the storm, she calls me early in the morning and says, pack bag for you and Ashley. Get over here. We're leaving. And Ashley's my daughter. She was 8 years old at the time. So did that. Went ahead and packed the bag, gave my daughter a bag to pack, and of course she filled it full of toys and stuff. That's okay. Went over to my mom's house and we left. We got on the road. We were heading to Slidell. We have a family friend who has a huge piece of property there, and when I say huge, they donated half of this property to the church to use as like a summer camp. That's how big the property is. So we went to Slidell, and people were going the other direction, so traffic wasn't that bad for us. We get there, and the friend assigns everybody, tells everybody where they're going to be staying at, because there's a number of cottages on the property, or, for the church property, a number of cottages. Plus he has, he had 2 trailers. I think another family had a trailer on the property. There was a house, it was a couple of things. There was places for everybody to be. There was about 30 of us up there, I guess. About 5:30 the next morning, like everything was fine, everything was good. 5:30 the next morning, I'm standing outside smoking a cigarette. Everybody's inside sleeping. It's raining. I'm standing under an awning, and I'm watching the lights, the street lights. It's country, there's not really out there to see. And one by one, they start going off. I looked at it and I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. It's kind of like a domino effect. And then I thought about it. That meant we just lost power. So I finished my cigarette, went back inside to go to sleep, and about 7:30 in the morning, there's a knock on the door, telling us to all move to the cinder block building, which it was exactly that. It's a cinder block, kind of dormitory type building, bunk beds and all of that. So anyway, that's where we're going. Now, being that the power had just gone out, this is the country, the water was actually run by a well system. So now we were not only without power, but we were also without water. We're sitting here, we're watching the storm, we're watching trees topple over, the roots just coming up off the ground. The trees that didn't fall, we're watching them bend in the wind, and watching Mother Nature do what she does, and that's her own thing. She's going to do what she wants to do. Once everything had stopped, and we knew everything was done, all the guys got out on tractors and four-wheelers, with chainsaws and axes to clear the roadways. Just because we knew how long it would be before St. Tammany Parish would be able to get out there and do that. So, once the roadways were cleared, a couple of them had gotten in vehicles and went in different directions to find a Home Depot, a Lowe's, a True Value, anything open. They could get a generator, because we had one generator, but we needed to hook a couple of things up to it. Didn't know how long it was going to hold out. When we went looking around the land to see how bad the damage was, the groundskeeper for the church part of the property, he had left, and probably a good thing, because a tree fell on his trailer and just broke it completely in half. A tree also fell on one of the trailers of the person who had invited us to come up there. So there was damage. Now, my daughter was 8 years old, and she was the only kid out there. And then the mother of the family was there, and she was the oldest person. And these two had friended up, and basically, and were keeping each other occupied and what have you. And to this day, the woman can't remember my name, but she'll ask you how Ashley is. So they formed some kind of a bond. Being that everything was on the running off the generators, we didn't want to strain the situation any more than necessary. So when the roads were cleared, my mother, Ashley, and I, we left, and we just went driving, trying to find a place to go that that had a place, you know. And we ended up in Vicksburg, Mississippi. We found a hotel, but between the finances, you know, pooling our finances, we didn't know how long we were going to be able to stay in a hotel. Not that it was expensive, just we didn't know how long we were going to be out. So, while we were there, you know, went walking around Vicksburg, just to see what I could find, to see what I could see. Found out that the Vicksburg Convention Center was being used as a shelter. So we ended up going to the shelter. And the people of Vicksburg were amazing. They really, really were. So big thanks for that, because we got to the shelter and we're only talking a matter of 2 days, and the people of Vicksburg had already donated clothes and, you know, toiletries and the things that you would need when you just lost everything. So we got there, and the people that were originally there, we formed a community. We were helping each other out, watching each other's kids to, you know, to give us a break, because it was just, there was so much going on that you had to decompress. And so, you know, we would watch each other's kids and, you know, sit and talk and find out that, hey, you know, I used to, you know, I work at this place. So, oh, wow, that's just down the street from my house. I mean, we were neighbors. And everything was great. And then, they bussed a group of people in. Now, this convention center had never been used before. This is the first thing it was ever being used for. And the group of people that were bussed in, the teenagers had found chalk or something somewhere and wrote all over this brand new building. There was one guy that came in and accused another guy of disrespecting him by looking at his woman or whatever. Now, mind you, we were there for like almost a week, and not one problem. Not one. Um, this fight and the chalk incident happened the first day that the people were bussed in. So then, you know, they were getting ready to start school, and we didn't want the kids to miss out on school, so it was being set up for them for them to temporarily go to school. We'd figure everything out later, just so that they didn't fall behind and they had something to keep them, keep their minds preoccupied. When they would come, home from school, there was a group of parents who were, tutoring and helping with the homework and that kind of stuff. So we had that going on. Well, one of the rules were we were not allowed to use the kitchen, and understandably so. I mean, could you imagine 100 people trying to use the same kitchen? It's just not going to happen. Somebody had ordered, from this busting group, someone had ordered a pizza and tried to heat it up in the oven, still in the box, and almost set the place on fire. A group of them had made some friends, I guess, with people in the town, and had brought them in, and they were stealing donated items, and I mean, and things like the toilet paper and paper towels and, clothes, stuff like that. So, whatever. They had computers there for us to get started with any kind of paperwork that we needed to do for Red Cross and for FEMA. Red Cross was out there. I don't think FEMA was out there just yet. So, to get everything started with Red Cross, with FEMA, whatever we needed to do, you could use the computers to see satellite images of your neighborhood. And there was a rumor at the time going around that if your neighborhood was blacked out on the satellite images, it was because the devastation was too bad. Unfortunately, my section was blacked out, and so I was freaking out because I didn't think it could be that bad. What I was seeing on the news, I didn't think it could be as bad as what was happening down in the Ninth Ward and in Lakeview and that kind of stuff. So I was a little unnerved. Time's going on. I talk with my now ex-fiance, and he tells me that he came to the house to get what he could, that we lost everything, that he wasn't coming back. So here I am in Vicksburg with no home, no information, and I'm told that I've lost everything. This is a 2-story house, so to lose everything, I lost everything. So anyway, one night we're sleeping, and I had an air mattress, and Ashley they had given her a sleeping bag that had a little air mattress and air pillow in it. She gets up, she goes to the bathroom. It's like 1:30 in the morning. She comes back, she wakes me up. She's like, "Mom, give me back my sleeping bag." I said, "Ashley, honey, I don't have your bag." She's like, "Mom, give it back to me. This isn't funny. I want to go back to sleep." I was like, "Ashley, I don't have your sleeping bag." And normally this is a little game that we would play, but not 1:30 in the morning. Not in a situation like this. I wouldn't. So I told her, I was like, "Look, just climb in bed with me and we'll figure it out in the morning." So we get up in the morning, can't find the sleeping bag anywhere. I reported what had happened, not that I expected anything to happen behind it, but even one of the people who were working in the shelter said that she believed it was one of the people that were bussed in, because, like I said, we didn't have any of these problems prior to that. It was in this moment that I decided I had enough. I was ready to go home, to whatever home I had or didn't have. Because I wasn't going to subject my child to this anymore. So, we came back home. We go to my mom's house first, and she had no utilities on, but she didn't have any damage to the property. She lived close to the airport, so it was at a higher elevation. I live, and it's funny because we lived on the same street, but I live down by the lake. So we drive down Williams, which is the main road, and I'm looking and I'm seeing just, I'm sorry, I'm seeing just devastation. It's, it was bad. There was no water left in the streets, but so we get to my house. All my utilities are on, including the internet. So I was amazed. But apparently I had 2 feet of water in my house. The landlord had already come in and taken out the carpet. And the walls had been marked for removal, and he had to mark them because if he took them out on, like if he took out all of my walls and then all of the walls of the people next to me, we would be able to get in and out of each other's, house. It's a townhouse. So my walls were marked, and they had taken the carpet out. The smell when I walked in was just unbelievable, to say the least. And David, my ex, I saw where he had come in and taken things. Oh, and that was the other thing. He was telling me that someone had broken in and they had stole stuff. They had stole food and stuff. And my whole time watching the news, seeing the looting and stuff like that, I said, if someone breaks into my house and they steal food or clothes, even the toys for the kids, stuff that they need, I have zero problem with that. Just don't take things you don't need. You don't need my stereo. You don't need my TV. What are you going to do with it? And then come to find out, it was actually my neighbors that had taken the food because they told me. And I had no problem with that. The window being broken and it being broken in too, was my neighbors breaking the window so that they could come in and take care of the cats. Because the cats had created an island on the sofa. On one of the sofas. I had 2 sofas at the time. So they had created an island on the sofa. So I don't know how long the water was in the house. I know that they were on one end of the sofa and they were using the other end of the sofa as a litter box. They didn't have a choice. So I decided I would stay and I wasn't going back to Mississippi. My mom said she couldn't stay, that this was just too much for her, so she was going back to Vicksburg. That she had called the guy at the hotel. He had an empty room and he was going to hold it for her. Because FEMA was doing hotel vouchers, so it was taken care of, just come back. So she went back. I couldn't go back to that. I couldn't leave my house again. So my daughter and I were here, and there really wasn't, schools were closed, obviously. There weren't any kids for her to play with, but she, we had, like I said, we had power, we had the internet, so we didn't have cable. So she had movies to watch. We only lost everything downstairs. Everything upstairs was fine. We had no problems upstairs. So she stayed. I was the office manager of a plumbing company at the time. And so, being that it's a major utility, I was given permit passes to get in and out of the different cities, to get in and out of the different parishes, to be able to work as need be. The owner of the company, he actually lived in a little town called Paulina, which wasn't hit by the storm. So when I came back, we were still getting calls for people who needed work, who lived outside of damaged areas, because we also did like home warranty type stuff. So we were running the business out of our houses. I eventually sent Ashley with her dad and stepmom at the time to Virginia. They had, the stepmom had come down here with her dad to be able to salvage anything that they could out of the apartment, because they had a one-story and they were flooded out. They lost everything. And then on the way back, they stopped here and they took Ashley. So Ashley went to Virginia. I stayed here. I ended up working with the Army Corps of Engineers with cleanup. And we went into some neighborhoods that the smell of death was overpowering. I'll never forget that smell. It's not ever something that you want to have to deal with, but it needed to be done. Somebody had to do it. So I was doing that. I was doing the plumbing company. I was also in school at the time. I was at Tulane. And, of course, Tulane was destroyed. But they have a satellite campus in Elmwood, which Elmwood didn't really, I mean, they got a little wind damage, the area, not the school. They got a little wind damage, but they were fine for the most part. So they decided that they were going to do a mini semester. And I was able to do that. So I really didn't miss a semester of school. But I had to do something to take my mind off of what was going on. All of this is to say that I know that some people are just tired of hearing Katrina stories. But it's not, for some people, it's cathartic. And that's what my daughter thought this would be for me. Because, you know, normally it doesn't bother me. It upsets me a little bit because the memories are still so fresh, even 10 years later. But this year, it's been raw. It's been, like, I was driving down the interstate, and one of the cemeteries has white flags planted for the people lost in New Orleans in the hurricane. And just seeing that set me off. And it sounds silly to cry over something like that, but having been through it, you can't call it silly. Many things have happened as a result. I joke and I say I lost 175 pounds of stupid. That was the ex-fiance. I am still in the same place that I was before the storm. So I've been here for 14 years. I had made friends with some Muslims after the storm. Well, I was friends with him before, but we got closer after the storm, and he introduced Islam to me. Not greatly, but we just talked about it a little bit, and so I had started reading and studying and for almost a year, and then I became Muslim, so there's that. I made some great friends through that. I'm here. I'm here. Many people lost way more than I did. They lost family. They lost their homes permanently. They lost their sanity. And just some have never come back from that. Fortunately, we were not here during the storm. So my daughter didn't experience that. She graduated this year. She was in all honors. She was awarded TOPS twice, which TOPS is a Louisiana scholarship program. So she's gotten the TOPS award. She did well. When we came back, when her dad brought her back from Virginia, when everything was okay, she ended up going to an elementary school that actually had a music program, which here not many elementary schools do. So she got involved in band, and played saxophone all the way through her graduating. She did many wonderful things with that. She was a Tipitina's intern. She, did Jazz Fest. So, she was afforded a lot of opportunities as a result of the storm, whereas had she stayed here, she'd have been going to an elementary school that didn't have that program for her. So there are many blessings that did come out of the storm. And, for those who are tired of hearing Katrina stories, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's rough, and I don't know if you're tired of hearing it because, we should just suck it up and move on. But for those of us who were severely damaged by the storm, and I don't just mean our physical belongings, sometimes the story just needs to be told. No two stories are alike. They aren't. And no two outcomes are alike. And every story is as different as a snowflake. But like I said in the beginning, there's one common theme. It's the strength and resilience of this city. We came back. Much of the city has been rebuilt and has grown, but we still have a long way to come. There's still things that are not completed. Some areas of the city outside of New Orleans, and some of the lower Ninth Ward even, where you can drive by and still see buildings with water lines and X's, with dates and numbers, meaning they didn't find any pets or they didn't find any bodies in the building. And those are still up. It's 10 years. And we're still here. We came back. We're not going anywhere. So, and that's my story. It is what it is, I guess. Do I have an ending? Not really. Like I said, we're still going on from this. The city may be bruised. We're not broken. You can't break us. And we're not going anywhere. So, again, I'd like to thank the city of Vicksburg because you were there when we needed it. Tulane for being my calm in the storm, because I had that to go back to. I had something to work for. The city of New Orleans for just being home. I don't know. It's a strength, and it's an everyday process. Tragedy is horrible, but when you live through it, it makes you stronger because it didn't get you. It didn't break you. I'm still here today. I'm not going anywhere. So that's my Katrina story, I guess. So you questions, comments, anything you want to below. This is Marsha signing off.